Welcome to Trust Your Wisdom, where we explore how to stay connected to your soul in the middle of real life. I'm Linda Manning, coach, healer, and guide, and this is your space for spiritual insight, inspiration, and honest conversation. Hey, welcome back to Trust Your Wisdom. This is Linda Manning, and I know it's been a minute, but here I am back at the mic because something stirred in me after a beautiful conversation with one of my cousins. We were talking about one of the biggest challenges on my personal spiritual path, and that is what it really means to live in partnership with the divine instead of trying to do everything my way or trying to surrender everything blindly to God. So, big, heavy, deep conversations, right? And I realize that my journey has moved through some very distinct stages, and I want to share them, not because I've got it all figured out, spoiler, I don't, but because I think you might see yourself somewhere in this path too. And I'm hoping that by naming it as a path, it might help you normalize your own experience. So, ready to dive in? Stage one, who am I? There was a time when I didn't know myself at all. I was very much of a people pleaser, especially in romantic relationships. And if you asked me, like, hey, Linda, what do you want for dinner? I would literally try to read your mind before checking in with my own stomach. I had no idea most of the time what I wanted. Now, on the plus side, that gave me some serious intuition skills, right? That was part of my why I wanted to be intuitive, so I could read your mind. But on the minus side, I felt really empty and confused and disconnected from myself. It's really hard to navigate life when you don't know what you want. And I'm wondering, raise your hand if you can relate to that, right? But my cousin said something similar, and that really got me thinking about it. She said that now that she is a retired adult, right? That's how long it's taken her. She's just starting to understand her own preferences. And I thought, yeah, that is where so many of us begin. So, cousin, you're not alone. So, for me, I've been on a spiritual journey for a very long time, and in my 20s, I stepped into what I would call the stage two, which I'm now calling the sovereignty stage. And that's when I started to figure out who I really am. And I struggled to do that in my normal life. Still, a little caught up in that people pleasing thing. So I decided to break ties altogether. I quit my job, I packed a bag, and I backpacked through Europe, mostly solo. And I had my Eurail pass and I had no set plans. So each day was a test. Like, where do I go? What do I eat? Where do I sleep? And for some of you, that might sound romantic. For others, it may sound insane. For others of you, you might go, wow, that sounds like the worst idea I can think of, really terrifying. I get it. Different strokes for different folks. But it was exactly what I needed. And I can tell you it was not always easy, and I did not have some instant magical breakthrough, right? No, I still would give up my preferences sometimes just to have company. I would still get overwhelmed by all the choices that I had to make and go like, oh my God, I don't know what country to go to today. I know first world problems, but still it was a real challenge sometimes because I was just learning myself. And I would have to type in, well, where do I want to go today? What do I want to do? And this was before the internet. So it's not like you could even look stuff up. There was no like Yelp to tell you where to go. So, and sometimes I still got really lonely traveling by yourself. For me, an extrovert was pretty challenging. But I also started to notice some things, and I started to notice that over time, I was able to make choices. I was able to figure out where I wanted to go. And I also noticed that when I gave up what I wanted to please others, I would often regret it. So those were some big ahas for me. And one of the moments I really remember, I was in Switzerland and it was a gorgeous day, like picture perfect, like a postcard. There were wildflowers in the fields and on the hills. In the background was snowy peaks and truly the most beautiful cows with their little cowbells that I've ever seen. I didn't even know cows could be beautiful, but I'm telling you, in Switzerland, they were. And but I was by myself, and so I decided to join a group to go on a hike. And we're partway through the hike, and it's just such a beautiful scene, and I want to be enjoying it. But what I realized was that I really wasn't enjoying their company a whole lot. They weren't really my peeps. And so the next day, I decided I would go solo. What happens? It's raining. I just remember like the clouds were so low, and I was incredibly lonely. I felt really like I'm like in some place by myself with these low clouds going, I'm all alone in the world. But also in that moment, I realized like, okay, this is just today and this will pass. Like, yeah, in this moment, I feel lonely, but it doesn't mean I'm lonely forever. That was huge for me. And I realized like, okay, I can make choices all the time and I can be with people or I can be alone, but it'll be okay. Tomorrow's going to be another day. So I started to get more comfortable with my own rhythm and my own voice and my own sovereignty. And when I came home, because not traveling forever, came back to my regular life, but I was different. So my life was different. And I started to really know what I wanted and stick with it and speak it, like actually saying it out loud. That was huge also. And I got stronger in my relationships. I wasn't so much of a pushover. I had my own opinions. And I stayed in that stage for quite a few years and really starting to get to know me. So probably I would say like 4 years that I was in this stage of getting to know me and getting to appreciate me. But, these spiritual paths, they show up for you and they pull you out of your comfort zone. And that's what happened to me. I felt this longing, this calling, this nudge to continue developing spiritually. And I started to explore some different healing traditions. And I felt this clear yes to what became, it didn't start out that way, but what became a Sufi-based spiritual healing school. And as I'm studying Sufism and studying these different healing methods, the path asked me to let go of myself, my ego, the ego that I had worked so hard to find, the personality that I finally felt good about. Yes, I was being asked to let that go and turn everything over to God. And can you imagine, or maybe you've had this experience yourself, like this was hard. I was in resistance because I was like, oh my God, I just found myself and now I'm supposed to let it all go. It was really, I was in such a turmoil. But I kept following the yes. I kept walking this path. And one of the things that we did was we bowed in prayer. And that means, it's like the Muslim prayer. So we would bow all the way down to our foreheads were touching the ground. And, your head's all the way down in the ground and you're like really turning your life over to God. Like, God, whatever you will, that's what I want. And there's something really powerful. I mean, you don't have to be a Sufi to try this. Like, you might want to try it at home. Just bowing your head all the way to your forehead touches the ground and see what that feeling is like, that experience for you. Because for me, it was very powerful. And honestly, I would cry sometimes. I would literally bow my head down and cry with relief, with like, oh, thank you, God. Like, let me give this over to you. This life is hard. Let me really share it and send it to you. And that felt amazing. And it wasn't like a one-time thing. It wasn't like I bowed down and now I'm surrendering with everything. So that's the stage that I'm talking about now, is the stage of surrender. Stage 3 is surrender. It's a daily practice to surrender. Sometimes it's an hourly practice. Like the ego is strong and it wants to take over. And to really practice like bowing down and saying, no, it's not my will, it's thy will. Thy will be done. And help me, God, understand what your will is for me. Help me follow whatever you say so that I'm doing your will. This was, again, this was what I was back and forth and in and out really hard. But I kept doing it because there was such relief and such release when I would actually be able to let go and trust. A lot of it was around trust. Trust that I was being held, trust that I was being led, trust that I was really praying to something that was supporting me. So it was really powerful. And one of the things that was so transformational for me in this was that I had been studying to be a healer, had this longing and calling to be a healer, was doing healing work. And through the Sufi path, what I learned was to surrender the healings to the divine. And what that meant was that I wasn't the healer. I was creating the space for the healing. I would hold space for this beautiful human being who was across from me or with me, and I would allow something more transformational, wiser, some incredible wisdom to come through me. And I would just listen and follow the instructions so that I held the space for healing, but I was not the healer. And my healing skyrocketed, like the ability that I had to really tap into what that person needed and to hold space for that and to allow the healing to come through me was really profound. And so I was like, oh, this is amazing. Even though it's challenging for me to surrender, like I want to do it because I want to have the greatest impact on others that I can. And so I was really surrendering and saying, okay, this is like for the rest of my life. I get to keep practicing surrendering. But when you say yes to growth, the divine tends to say, great, here's more. Now that you've comfortable with this, we're going to kick you out of your comfort zone again and give you something else. So I'm studying with some different teachers, and they start bringing up co-creatorship. And I am freaking out. I'm like, no, no, no. I just spent all of this time like saying, no, not my will, thy will. And I've spent all this time like trying to calm my ego down and surrender to God. And now you're asking me to be a co-creator. Like, is that sacrilegious? Am I even allowed to do that? Right? These are the kinds of like crazy thoughts that I was having. So it really threw me for a loop. I didn't even know, was I allowed to want things again? And how would I know? Was this coming from my ego or was this coming from my soul? And that was really, in some ways, the essential nub of it all, because this co-creatorship was actually not about reconnecting to my ego desires. It was around truly connecting to my soul desires, to what my soul wanted. Like my soul might want connection with the divine, often does. My soul might want beauty or joy. My soul can want abundance, flow, supporting many, right? There's so many things that my soul wants. And I started to notice that when I would admit what my soul wanted, like when I would actually say it out loud, like, oh, my soul really wants more joy. I want more joy in my life, right? I want to have this life of joy. Then that wasn't enough. Like that was an awesome first step. Naming what you want is amazing. So go do that. But also, I had to take action. I had to, so it wasn't just, okay, divine, I want some more joy. You do that. It was, oh, I get to live a life of joy. What would that look like? And well, that might mean in this moment, I can do it right now while we're here on this podcast. Like in this moment, just feeling my heart expand and open. Oh, I hope you guys can feel it because it feels amazing to me, right? Just by tapping into joy. And I'm saying yes to joy and I'm opening my heart and it feels amazing. And so it's like the universe is saying, great, you take the first step and then we will come in and rocket ship you, right? So it's like I need to turn on the car, but then soul will hit the gas. So there are so many ways our guides can show up for us, or synchronicities, luck, crazy things, the right people show up at the right time. There's so much support for us. So when we take that step, when we name what we want and we take a step forward, then so much support from the universe will show up for us. It's awesome. And you get to have that. All right. We all get to have that. So now I live in more of a co-creatorship space. And I was just in a class this past week, and the guides asked, like, what's something that we want? And I named it. And it was the first thing that came to me. And let me tell you, that's like incredible growth for me because instead of being in this like crazy place of, well, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I don't, what if I make a mistake in what I ask? Like that's where I started in this co-creative space where I was worried that I would ask the wrong things or I would want 20 things and they'd say just one. I'd be like, oh no. But now I know that there's such an abundance. I can always have everything. And I'm still in a human body. I'm still in this lifetime. And it's a whole lot easier to work with Source and for Source to work with us when we have like one or two things that we're focusing on, not 20. So if joy is my like thing right now, then I get to just focus on joy, look for it in my life, create it in my life, and know that the divine is coming to support me. So your longings, whatever they are, they're unique. And that's what I learned about myself too. The things I want, this is not the same thing everyone wants. This is what I want. Where do those desires come from? Well, they come from soul. So if my soul wants joy, that's like my fingerprint. You can have it too, by the way. It's not just me. But you want to figure out what does your soul want and then trust that, love that. Your unique longings matter. They're not mistakes. They're not just something to think, oh, everyone has this. No, they're instructions for you. And look, it doesn't mean that this stage of co-creatorship is always easy. Sometimes like what I said, when I started on it, I would just freeze up. But now the longer I'm on this path, the easier it's getting, which of course is like a big uh-oh for me, because as soon as it gets easy, I can expect something else is going to happen. I have no idea what it is. So it's taken me a long time to trust what arises and to believe and know that there's always more waiting for me. So I don't have to name the perfect thing, the one right thing, because that's just my thing for now. And I get to have more when I want more, when I'm ready for more. And when things don't go your way, like let's say um, I want something, I envision it, and it doesn't happen. Well, I trust that that's because my soul knows something I don't know, that there's something better that might come through, and I need to miss this one thing in order to be ready for the next thing that's even better. So, so I don't worry if things don't go according to my map. I trust that I'm still being guided and taken care of. So maybe co-creatorship is the stage I'll stay at for the rest of my life. Maybe there's some other chapter that I haven't seen yet. If I'm honest, if history tells anything, I'll probably resist the next one too. I'll be like, no, I like co-creatorship, but I'm learning, and we really often can't see the path clearly until we look back. So this has been such a treat for me to look back and see my path and how it got me here. So when I was in stage one, not even knowing myself, I had no idea this was part of a spiritual journey. And when I was at stage two, I never imagined that I'd spend all that time fighting myself just to be asked to let it go, and probably would have been grumpy if I'd learned that. When I was in stage three, I thought, okay, surrender's it. Like this is the final countdown. But now I'm in stage four and I'm less attached, I'm more curious, and I can't wait to see what unfolds. So I want to ask you, like, what stage are you in? Are you in one of these stages, or maybe you're toggling between a few of them? Or maybe you're in some different stage I didn't name. I'd love to hear about that. Are you discovering your voice for the first time? Maybe you're wrestling to surrender, or maybe you're navigating co-creatorship and, wondering what that's all about. So, this is really about shifting from our heads to our hearts, to our souls. This is the journey that I'm on, and maybe we're all on. So I'd love to hear from you. Subscribe if you like this podcast. I promise I'm going to do it more often. Leave me messages, comment, do likes, whatever. This is your journey and your soul, and it's your way. And I really believe that it is sacred. And so I want to support you in flying your highest. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you again soon. Promise.